moving on, we now want to graph our first logarithmic equation. Now, that's a little bit out of our comfort zone, but if you rearrange this saying 2 to the number on the other side equals the argument, you have 2 to the y power equals x, which makes x an equation of y. X is a function of y. So if I'm going to use an xy chart, I'm going to pretty much let the y's be the inserted values, the input. If you have 0, 1, and 2 for input for y, then you have 2 to the 0, that's 1. 2 to the first is 2. 2 to the second is 4. Here's our -1 coming out as a half on the left, and -2 coming out as 1/4. Everything's switched around from the problem that I just did a little bit ago where we were graphing y equals 2 to the x. So here we go with these points. 1, 0, 2, 1, 4, 2, a half, -1, a quarter, -2. And this graph here looks like this. Notice if we were to take the graph at the left over here and put it on top of this graph, we go through 1, 1, there we go, like that, we would have this image right here. And notice that there are reflections across the diagonal line y equals 1, which illustrates for you that yes, this logarithmic function is the inverse of the exponential function. Now the domain of this logarithmic graph is from 0 to infinity, not including the 0, and the range is all real numbers. And if you take a look at these two problems side by side here, you will notice that the domain of one becomes the range of the other, and vice versa. Okay, that's a very handy thing to know. I'd also like to call attention in this graph here that the graph goes through the point 1, 0. Instead of writing 2, 1, I'm going to write base, 1, because that helps us to identify that graph. Okay, let's continue on now and do another problem. We now are being asked to graph y equals 4 to the x, and I think this is just easier to be done as an xy chart. So I'm going to let 0 be my first input. 4 to the 0 power is 1. So 0, 1 is on our graph. Then let's substitute in 1. We get 4 to the first, which is 4, and our graph goes through 1, 4. If we try 2, it goes way off our graph there at 2, 16. So let's try -1. 4 to the negative first is 1/4, and we have -1, 1/4. So this is going to look very much like y equals 2 to the x, except it's going to be flatter on the left and steeper on the right side of that 0, 1. Its domain is going to be all real numbers, and its range is going to be all positive numbers greater than 0.